From United Nations Television, this is UN in Action.
These are the faces of victims of the Uruguayan dictatorship. Hundreds disappeared, and more than 10,000 women and men were detained and tortured. Some 40 years later, survivors and relatives are still fighting for their right to answers.
They have a right to truth, justice, reparations. I think that there is still much more room for active and effective truth-seeking.
Dr. Pablo de Grief, a human rights expert from Colombia, was appointed by the United Nations Human Rights Council to serve as Special Rapporteur on the promotion of truth, justice, reparation, and guarantees of non-recurrence for victims of past human rights crimes around the world. As part of this work, the government of Uruguay invited him there to assess progress in discovering the truth of past atrocities that occurred in the 70s and early 80s and ensure justice and compensation for survivors. Survivors like Chela Fontoura, who was captured but lived to tell her story.
Ahí estoy en la cárcel de Cabildo, estoy un año. Me escapo junto a otras tantas compañeras, éramos 38, y al poco tiempo me detienen. Me presentaban en todos lados como la mujer peligrosa.
Now 67 years old, she was imprisoned for her trade union activities.
De noche, por ejemplo, no te dejaban dormir. Empezaban a golpear en la reja, ¿no?
Chela was finally released in 1985. She met with Pablo to brief him about her experience.
Denuncié todo lo que habían hecho. Aquí queda claro que todo lo que pasó en este país que quieren ocultar.
In Uruguay's capital, Montevideo, Pablo meets several high-level government officials, including the president. He also met with Defense Minister Eleuterio Huidobro. A former prisoner himself, Huidobro says he is committed to finding solutions.
Toda la que ellos necesiten. Nosotros estamos colaborando activamente en todos los pedidos que nos hace la justicia o los organismos de derechos humanos para tratar de averiguar el destino de los desaparecidos.
Pablo recognizes that although slow, progress has been made in Uruguay with regard to victims of disappearances. One such is Soledad Dosetti Garcia, whose parents were disappeared in 1977 when she was just a baby. They were accused of being members of a radical left-wing movement.
Y bueno, hay algunas referencias, algunos testimonios que hablan sobre los llamados vuelos que transportaban a las personas, los prisioneros en aviones y los dejaban caer en el río de la Plata, digamos.
Although her parents' fate remains unanswered, Soledad received reparation in recognition of her loss. The Special Rapporteur believes if the political will is there and determined people like Soledad and Chela keep the memories of those bitter years alive, justice will be part of Uruguay's future. This report was produced by Mary Ferreira for the United Nations.